So good afternoon, everyone. I just want to thank you all for joining me. I'm so happy that I have this opportunity to share some wonderful information with you about healthy summer eating, tips on how to stay on track with your goals during the summer months. And isn't it hard to believe that we're already in the middle of July? I just cannot even believe it. It's flying by. So my name is Nicole Fuller. I am a registered dietitian nutritionist. I've been working in the field of dietetics for over 20 years now. I've worked in various different areas, acute care, long-term care, community health, like speaking engagements like this, as well as outpatient and dialysis on top of that. So without further ado, I just want to go ahead and get started. So here we go. Here's just an agenda for our discussion today. I wanted to give you a brief idea about what we're going to go over. As you can see here outlined on the agenda, we're going to start out by talking about my plate, and I'll explain a little bit more about what that is as we go forward, along with, the different food groups and the recommendations for each of those food groups, followed, by more in-depth look at the individual food groups. Then we're going to get into some tips and tricks of meal planning and for the summer. And moving on from there, we're going to go ahead and talk about some meal ideas, some snack ideas, and even a couple recipes in there. And ending with a Q&A session. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them at the end. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, in order to really figure out I was thinking, how are we going to start this discussion or talk about healthy summer eating? And I realized, to talk about how we're going to eat during the summer months, I feel like it's important to start with the basics, right? We need to take a look at what are the foundation, what are the food groups that we should be eating ideally on a routine basis, okay? And what we should be eating to stay healthy. That's how we can go ahead and, know where we should start. You know what I mean? One good resource is myplate.gov. You can see at the bottom, I don't know if you can see my cursor on the screen, but here underneath the plate, you can see the website here, choosemyplate.gov. It is an excellent resource. It was created sort of like a campaign by the USDA, but it takes into account the dietary guidelines for all Americans. And it's kind of a way to help you learn how to create your meals and how your individual plates should look sort of at all meals. We can take this information, sort of translate it into how our summer plates should look. You can do this with any season, but we're specifically talking about the summer months. So as you can see, sorry about that. As you can see here on this plate, we have the 5 food groups: fruits, vegetables, the grains, protein foods, and of course, the dairy groups. These are listed in no particular order, and these are what we should strive to consume on a routine basis, even if at each meal if you can. Now is probably where you're, asking yourself, but how, now I know the food groups, how much of each should I be eating daily? Well, not to worry, because that's what we're going to talk about on the next slide. So this table here is kind of just a quick guide as to approximately how much servings of each of the food groups you should be getting on a daily basis. So as you can see here, we have the 5 food groups: fruit, vegetables, grains, protein, and dairy. I did this based on women and men 60 years and older. You can kind of get an idea. They vary a little bit, but not by too much. Fruit, generally 1 to 2 cups. Vegetables, anywhere from 2 to 3.5 cups. Grains, 5 to 9 ounce equivalents. I mean, they do vary, but not by tons. Protein, 5 to 6.5 ounces, and dairy is the same for both gender and age, about 3 cups. I also wanted to give you an idea of what a serving size example is. So like if I say fruit, you should have about, 2 cups a day. Well, what's considered 2 cups? Well, it would be 1 cup of raw or canned fruit, or, like one medium-sized banana, one medium apple, one orange. Those are equivalents to 1 cup. Vegetables, well, 1 cup of raw, canned, or cooked vegetable is 1 serving, except if it's like a leafy green, then 1 cup is like a 1 cup serving would actually be 2 cups, if that makes sense. That's because when you put leafy greens into a cup, it's the volume. It doesn't kind of add up. Like if you put 1 cup of carrots in a cup and 1 cup of leafy greens, you could really pack those greens in there. So it's actually 2 cups of leafy greens. An ounce equivalent of grains would be like 1 slice of bread, a half a cup of cooked cereal, pasta, rice, quinoa, couscous, those sort of things would be 1 ounce equivalent, and 1 cup of dry cereal. Protein, 1 ounce equivalent is equivalent to 1 ounce of meat, fish, poultry, seafood. A quarter cup of cooked beans is considered a 1 ounce equivalent, and 1 ounce is also equal to 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, almond butter, any of the nut butters really, and 1 ounce is also equal to 1 eggs. For the dairy group, it would be 1 cup is equal to 1 cup of milk or yogurt, and this would also be the same for the milk substitute, so like soy milk, almond milk, oat milk, those type of things. And you can see they have cheeses there. 1.5 ounce of natural cheese would be equivalent to 1 cup, or 1 serving, I should say. And when I say processed cheese, I'm talking about like American cheese for equivalence. So anyway, as you can see, those are the serving sizes. And I just want to kind of briefly go over this. Now, keep in mind, this table is a reference to men and women 60 years and older. And everyone is different. If you really want to get a better idea specifically for you on how many servings you should be aiming for, you can always go to that website, choosemyplate.gov. You can plug in your own information. They're going to ask you just like your age, your gender, height, weight, those types of things, your activity level. And you plug that in and it'll kind of give you an approximate about how many servings you should be having a day. Now, how can we use this information for eating healthy during the summer? So how do we take this and translate it? Well, I want to kind of take a look at the individual food groups, figure out how we can make the best of them during the summer to help us stay on track with our healthy goals, right? First up on the list, we're going to talk about dairy. I think it's kind of the often forgot about food group, and it's important to make sure you're getting enough of this in your diet. When we're talking about dairy, it includes milk, cheese, yogurt, and calcium fortified alternatives. So whether it's soy milk, almond milk, or oat milk, for example, as long as it's calcium fortified, then would be considered a dairy. They all contain very important nutrients, some of which are listed here on the slide. We have the calcium for strong bones and teeth, vitamin D, which helps build and maintain our bones. Potassium helps regulate our blood pressure. And believe it or not, we often forget dairy does contain protein, which helps, with many things, but muscles, of course. When choosing dairy products, I do recommend it's best to choose low fat or fat-free options. And that's because dairy products that have full fat or like 2% still contain a little bit or have a lot of saturated fat in them. And saturated fat has been shown to increase cholesterol levels, bad for heart health. So choosing fat-free or low fat. I know people would love to see ice cream on the dairy list, especially during the summer. However, ice cream is typically loaded with added sugars and saturated fats. So that's why you're not seeing it on the dairy list. Now, does that mean that I'm going to tell you you can't enjoy ice cream during the summer months? Absolutely not. I would never, ever, ever say that, especially in the summer, and from someone who likes ice cream myself. I would just recommend, if you're choosing a treat like that, there are different ways, you can choose a single scoop instead of a double scoop, or if you're used to doing a triple scoop, do a double scoop. Get it in a cup rather than a cone, because you're saving the calories by not having the cone. Maybe skip the toppings, or instead maybe do one topping if you're used to doing, 2 or more. You can also choose a lower fat item like a sherbet. That would be an option too. Or you could do a variety of all of those ideas. Now we're going to move on to vegetables and fruits. The new dietary guidelines for Americans for 2020 to 2025 is to make half of your plate fruits and vegetables. That doesn't mean that you have to have fruit with all your meals. You might be just doing it, with your breakfast, or you might have a serving later on in the afternoon as a snack. I don't necessarily recommend having fruit with all your meals. I would actually probably limit it only about 2 servings a day, or go by the recommendations for your age group that we discussed earlier. But for lunch and dinner, you can go ahead and make at least half of your plate vegetables. It's also recommended that you're choosing whole fruits, meaning seasonal, frozen, or canned in their own juices, rather than choosing fruit juice. Okay. The reason for this is because juice provides very little nutrition. It's mostly just sugar, and it doesn't have the nutrients that a real fruit contains. And also there's no fiber in it once it's put into a juice. You also going to want to try and vary your fruits and vegetables. Maybe go out of your comfort zone and try something new and different that you haven't before. You might end up finding a new favorite to add into the rotation of your meals. One huge benefit we have to staying healthy during the summer is that we get to eat fresh produce that's in season. Now, what does that mean? Well, seasonal foods tend to be fresher, and they tend to taste better than when it's consumed out of season. Has anybody ever experienced that? Like a tomato out of the garden or fresh from a farmer's market tastes so much better than a tomato in the middle of the winter that you get at the grocery store. See, crops picked at their peak of ripeness basically taste better, and they're full of flavor. The flavors tend to be stronger, they're more developed, and the textures of the produce is how it's meant to be. Another added benefit to buying and eating produce that's in season is that, believe it or not, they are more nutritious. Foods that are grown and eaten during their appropriate seasons are more nutritionally dense. There was actually a study done about vitamin C content in broccoli. Broccoli does contain some vitamin C. And in this study, it was found that broccoli grown during its peak season had a higher vitamin C content than the broccoli that was grown out of its regular season. So it is more nutritious. Often we do forget another benefit of eating seasonal produce is that it's usually less expensive. And I don't know about you, but that is a huge benefit, those savings. Eating seasonal fresh produce has often been touted as one of the best, it's the best way to find the best produce at the best price. Now, seasonal produce is definitely going to vary depending on where you live and the length of the growing season. That's just something to keep in mind. And it also brings us to another topic. Let me see where we go. Okay. So here we are. This is where we want to be. Buying local is about enjoying. It brings us to the other topic, which is the benefits of eating locally and buying locally. It's about enjoying real food, either, grown by a farmer or yourself, or from buying from, people that you trust. You get to potentially create relationships with local farmers and to support them by buying produce from them. How awesome is that? You get to be close up and personal with this fresh produce. this time of year, there are so many farmers markets you can go to. And a lot of times you'll end up seeing the same farmers markets or the same stands where they're coming every week. I know when I lived in Ramsey, the Ramsey's Farmers Market, I could always count on the same one farmer that I always enjoyed buying his produce. I would even enjoyed it so much that when he didn't go there, I visited his farm up in New York. It's also a great way to find out what's in season, because typically what they're bringing to the farmers market is what is in season. You're also, by doing this, you'll be able to explore new foods. You might find something they're selling that you've never tried before, and this is your chance to try it. Again, stepping out of your comfort zone to eat foods that you might not have. Keep in mind that by buying local produce, your food is also not traveling as far as when you go to the grocery store and buy the food that's not in season. Okay, that produce in the grocery store has been picked out of season. It's traveled likely hundreds, if not thousands of miles to make it to your grocery store shelf. So just think about the benefit of, just the carbon footprint alone of trying to take advantage of these farmers markets and local produce. I also put a couple of websites out here that you can check out if you want to see what's in season in New Jersey or in this area. You can go to pickyourown.org. It pretty much has all the states. You can find New Jersey listed, and I believe click on it and it will tell you what's in season during the summer months. Or you can go find jerseyfresh.com, and that's, I think, the easiest of both of them to use, because it's only about New Jersey. You can literally find out what is in season in New Jersey from April through December, which I think is so amazing, because we often forget that we can have produce that's growing up through December. So moving on, I don't know if you've ever heard the term eat the rainbow. If you've ever heard me speak at one of these Valley presentations before, I've talked about eating the rainbow. Yes, it is a thing. And the meaning behind it isn't just to eat more fruits and vegetables, but it's to eat a variety of them, a variety of different colors. And the reason is because the colors of the produce actually mean something. They're not just pretty to look at and something that we can put together and it looks like a rainbow. Fruits and vegetables contain something called phytonutrients. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but phytonutrients are precisely what gives fruits and vegetables their unique colors and their unique tastes. And phytonutrients are important because they have a strong anti-cancer and anti-heart disease effects. So the benefits of eating the rainbow is because you get all these phytonutrients, different nutrition. And as you can see here, you can look through the red, oh, actually, I'm just noticing now my carrots and orange bell peppers are pink. That should have been orange. I apologize for that. But you can see the different colors and the different fruits and vegetables in each category. So that's why you might hear somebody say, eat the rainbow. So here's just a quick list I found of local farmers markets for summer of 2021 in Bergen County, from Englewood to Ridgewood. So you can probably Google this to find out if you are near those towns. You could, I apologize, I am home and I noticed there's someone behind me in the background. This is the, work at home life. I apologize. Anyway, you could always Google, if you live near these towns, where exactly they are located. I have been to a few of them in, my experience, and it is always great to check one of them out. And I would be remiss if I did not dedicate an entire slide to Abma's Farm in Wyckoff, which is pretty local right here in Bergen County. And that's because they are Bergen County's only produce and poultry farm. And they have been around for 85 years. I don't know if anybody knew that. And it's family owned. If you have never visited, I highly recommend you do so, because you literally can't get any fresher produce than that. Their produce is literally picked the same day that you can buy it in their market. and you can honestly taste the difference. They do have an indoor market. They also have like a little farm. You could see the animals, but it's mostly, I would go for the produce. And you can always check out their website. I listed it here, www.admasfarm.com. It will tell you, they update it pretty regularly about what is available at their farm that they're growing. And they do try to farm sustainably using non-GMO seeds if that is important to you. Okay, now when it comes to grains, there are basically two types of grains. It'll be whole grains and refined grains. You ideally want, when you're choosing grains, at least half of the grains you're choosing to be whole grains. That's because whole grains contain the entire grain kernel. So think like wheat, rice or brown rice, oats, cornmeal, barley, for example. While refined grains, they have gone through a milling process where they remove most of the grain to give it a finer texture, make the product more shelf stable. The thing is that when they remove part of the grain, they remove many important nutrients and fiber. And while a lot of times you can enrich these refined grains, meaning you add back some of the nutrients, you can't add fiber back. Okay. So if you're unsure what you're buying is whole grain, just check the food label. As long as it's saying 100% whole wheat or 100% whole grain, then it contains whole grain. Next up is protein. This is another one of the food groups. I believe it's the last one we're going to talk about. And protein is important. Protein is building blocks not only for our muscles, but for bone, cartilage, skin. And referring back to one of the earlier slides, men and women 60 and over need somewhere between 5 to 6.5 ounces a day, depending on if you're male or female. And to give you an idea, a 3-ounce portion of meat, whether it's chicken, beef, seafood, 3 ounces is about the size of a deck of cards. So when we talk about the protein category, it's also important to vary your protein. Okay. Just as it is important to vary your fruits and vegetables, it's important to vary your protein. And the reason is because nutrients provided by the various proteins can differ. Okay. You won't get the same nutrition from chicken that you would get from beans, for example. This also brings me to the next subject. You want to choose, when we're talking about protein, you want to choose from both meat and non-meat options. There are so many ways to get different protein in your diet. The other protein, some protein options are, obviously the meat, poultry, eggs, seafoods, but then the non-meat would be your nuts, seeds, beans, lentils, soy products like tofu or tempeh. I usually recommend that people get some type of protein at each meal, including breakfast. Protein is obviously an important part of our diets, but it also can help you feel more full and more satisfied at meals. And when it comes to choosing your proteins, you want leaner cuts of meat, removing the skin from your poultry or buying skinless to begin with. Trim the fat off of any kind of meat you're buying. And this will help you also cut back in your saturated fat intake. All right, so now that we know what we should be eating, what are some of the tips and tricks for creating meals for a healthy summer? Okay, this is kind of where we get to put it all together. Well, portion control. I get it. There's foods that you love in the summer that you think you can't go without, but I would say if you love it, then you can have it, but in moderation. Okay, if you have a summer treat that you love, just like I was talking about ice cream earlier, just use better judgment. And then, instead of getting the double scoop on the boardwalk, get a single scoop. Choose the cup over the cone. And instead, if you go on vacation and you're going down to the Jersey Shore, if you're used to getting ice cream every day on the boardwalk, maybe let's say cut it back to 2 times and pick the days that you're going to do it. I get it. It's vacation. But these are just ways that you can try and stay more on track. Next up is to balance your plate by using what we talked about, the My Plate method. Okay, so when you're going to that barbecue, the graduation party, the cookout, what have it, Make half your plate the vegetables. A quarter of your plate is going to be the grains or starches, and the other quarter is going to be your protein. And going along with the barbecue cookout theme and creating your plate, think of it like this. You want to fill your plate with fruit and green salads and choose raw vegetables, maybe over the chips. Try and avoid the processed meats, you know, the hot dogs or sausages. You want to choose more, let's say, the grilled steak, or if they have the grilled fish or chicken or something along those lines. If you treat yourself to dessert, be aware of the portion size and try and keep it reasonable. Maybe have some fruit salad and a smaller piece of the apple, not apple pie, let's say peach pie. That'd be more summer appropriate. The key is really moderation and recognizing when you're full. Another idea, once you're done eating, get moving. If there's games around, get somebody play a game of volleyball, do some frisbee, croquet in the backyard, basketball, tag, something like that. We don't always have to make the main focus of a barbecue or a cookout the food, which is, let's be honest, what we often do. If you don't make it all about the food, you're less inclined to just sit around and eat more than you typically would. So, you know, step away from the table when you think you're done eating and get moving. And while we're on the subject of barbecues and cookouts, remember, they don't have to be big diet bombs, okay? So that means you can eat the grilled or raw veggies alongside your burger instead of maybe having that potato salad that's loaded with mayonnaise, or try a side dish that maybe has a vinegar base rather than a mayonnaise base. So have the burger, you know, even have a cheeseburger if you want, but maybe make the sides a little bit healthier so we don't get that huge bomb. Also, if you choose to eat pastries along with having some afternoon cookies and evening desserts, those calories are going to add up fast. I would recommend choosing fruit, low-fat yogurt, whole grain items, or veggies and dip when you're looking for a snack. Remember the produce that we talked about earlier that you can get from the farmer's market? Bring it home, get it prepared, wash it, clean it, cut it up, however, so you have it in your fridge ready, available to eat at any time. Okay. Now, we all know summertime usually means that there's going to be a vacation thrown in there. And you can use all the tips and tricks we've talked about during the slide. Having special meals or treats, especially when eating out, is one of the reasons we're excited about vacation, right? But what you can do if you're worried about getting off track, or, you know, afraid that you're going to overeat, or you're not sure what's available, you can do a little research before going on vacation. It can help you avoid some of the pitfalls that tend to happen when we travel. When I talk about research, I mean checking to see what kind of restaurants are in the area. You can look them up online, see what kind of menus they are. You can even kind of decide what you want before you go to the restaurant. Another thing you could do, instead of having a dish on your own, you can ask someone that you're with to share. Maybe order a healthier appetizer or a salad before you start your meal. You can always maybe even have a healthy snack before you go out to dinner so that you try not to overeat. And while it's important to stay hydrated year round, I feel like it's important to bring it here. You want to make sure during the summer months that you're drinking more fluids, because in the summer, it can mean losing more water through sweat and evaporation. So you want to pay attention to staying hydrated and to what you're drinking, okay? Because calories from beverages can add up, and they can add up very quickly. So it's much better to choose a non-calorie or low-calorie beverage. So think water, club soda, unsweetened iced tea. You could even do a fruit infused water or club soda, meaning like, you know, a little lime, or a lot of times I even see at hotels or restaurants, they have water that's been infused with strawberries or cucumber and mint. You can do something like that to spruce it up. Okay, so putting it all together, here are some meal ideas for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the summer. Breakfast, you could do easy things that you don't necessarily have to cook. Overnight oats is something that you don't have to cook. Whole grain cereals, oatmeal, smoothies. These are some breakfast ideas. And you can liven these up with using some of the fresh produce. With oatmeal, you can add some strawberries or blueberries, raspberries, whatever's in season. Cut up a peach or a nectarine, add it on top of the warm oatmeal. For lunch, salads. And we don't have to eat boring salads. We can create fantastic salads, especially with the local produce that we have available to us. You can do an avocado and eggs sandwich, chicken burrito bowls, grilled vegetable sandwiches. Grill the vegetables that you had bought at the farmer's market on Sunday, store it in the refrigerator, and you can use it up for the next couple of days. Think pasta salad with protein and add some extra veggies, again, from the produce that we bought. Dinner, turkey burgers or salmon burgers or shrimp burgers or whatever kind of burger floats your boat. Grilling it outside, any kind of grilled protein, generally grilled meat with vegetables and some type of grain. Those are easy. You could do the same thing for that you did for lunch, for dinner, doing the pastas with some kind of protein and vegetables. These are just kind of ideas, snack ideas for the summer. You could anything, nuts, seeds, fruit, yogurt. You get your, low-fat Greek yogurt, spice it up with some nuts, seeds, and some of that fresh fruit from the summer. You could do like this picture here, fruit kebabs. You can even do little mozzarella in there too for added protein. The list here for all of the different snack ideas: hummus with either some vegetables that you've had in your garden or that you got at the farmer's market, any kind of fruit with the nut butter that you like. That's a good idea. These are just some ideas to keep it healthy and light during the summer when you were looking for a snack. So here I just gave you a basic idea of a breakfast smoothie that you can do. It's a great way to get some dairy in. You could do strawberries fresh or frozen, banana fresh or frozen. If you're doing, one of the fruit should be frozen to give it that icy feeling. You can always do this as a treat too, rather than a milkshake. You can kind of make yourself a smoothie using some Greek yogurt or a yogurt substitute, low fat or fat-free milk, or a milk substitute, splash of vanilla extract, combine in your blender, and it's a great option. Again, you could do it for breakfast or a snack idea. Overnight oats. I'm not going to spend too much time on the recipes, but you can look here. It's basic: half cup of oats. You don't want to do the quick cooking or the instant. You want to do regular oats. Half cup of whatever milk of your choice, some vanilla extract, a little honey or maple syrup for sweetness. And you can even add in some chia seeds. You mix all the ingredients in a bowl or a jar, put it in the fridge overnight or about 6 hours. Cut up some fruit in the morning, some blueberries, again, some of those lovely, delicious fruits that we have available during the summer, and that could be a breakfast. A lunch idea, summer burrito. When I say start with a healthy base, I'm talking about some kind of greens, whether it's kale, spinach, mixed greens, any kind of vegetables you want, cut it up and put it on there. Protein of your choice. If you have some leftover grilled chicken, or you have some, fish, lean beef, some kind of protein. You can even do a hard-boiled egg or two, put it on top. A little bit of black beans, maybe a quarter cup. When I say avocado, I did put a quarter of an avocado sliced, because sometimes I think we can go overboard with avocado. I know myself, I could probably eat a whole avocado in one sitting, and while it's delicious and they have healthy fats, we do want to remember they are higher in fat and calories. So maybe just a quarter of the avocado. And then I put brown rice optional, just for your grain. You could do something like lentils or farro, or, even a whole wheat pasta, a little bit in there. You want to skip the higher calorie toppings to make it more summer healthy friendly. Lunch idea. You know, I kind of gave you a recipe here, but pretty much any whole wheat pasta, you can even use chickpea pasta or lentil, any of the pastas, as long as it's made with whole grains. And then add the vegetables that you have available that are, you know, summer friendly. Cut it up, throw it in there, even if you have some fresh basil. And then I gave a salad dressing recipe that you can mix together, pour over the top. As long as you're doing, you know, you can make your own using any kind of like olive oil, avocado oil, some kind of vinegar base, and then some seasonings, and go lighter on the salt and mix it together. Another thing, this is California grilled chicken. Here, balsamic vinegar, some seasonings, honey, garlic powder, some olive oil, Italian seasoning, salt, pepper. You mix it all together. With the, you need chicken, mozzarella, avocado, tomato. I did get this recipe from the website delish.com. So you can always go to that website and look up California grilled chicken. It's basically grilling chicken that's been seasoned. You can marinate it any way you want. Putting in here, you would mix all the ingredients together, marinate the chicken, grill the chicken till it's done. Then put the mozzarella, slice of mozzarella on top with the avocado slice and the tomato slice, and heat until the cheese is melted. These are just some ideas. Another way to do an easy summer dinner is to get a lean protein. Like if you want a burger, it could be like, here's the Beyond Meat. This is a plant-based burger. You can do the turkey burgers, 93% lean ground beef burgers. You could do a salmon burger. There are so many options available. I know even if you go to Trader Joe's, they have shrimp burgers. You can put them on the grill, and using your My Plate method, if you know what we talked about earlier, half your plate vegetables, quarter protein, quarter grains. If you're doing a burger, the burger, excuse me, will be your protein. Get a whole wheat bun, that will be your whole grain, and half your plate will be vegetables, and it could be whatever vegetable of your choice. And that is a perfectly balanced, healthy summer meal, and it's relatively easy. Okay, so this brings us to our last slide, where we kind of review the takeaway message. We want to include all 5 food groups every day. Use the My Plate method to visualize your lunch and dinner, especially. Even go to the myplate.gov if you want to get more specific on how many servings you think you should be having personally. We want to, when it comes to dairy, we want to choose low fat or fat-free dairy products. With our produce, again, eat the rainbow to take in all of those wonderful phytonutrients, vitamins, minerals that each have to offer. And when it comes to our protein, vary the protein too, because each protein provides us with different nutrients. And I say do at least once a week where you're doing no meat. A lot of time, there's even, I don't know if you've ever heard of something called Meatless Monday, but it's a day where you don't eat meat. Pick one day, could be Mondays, and you use some of the non-meat alternatives. And last but not least, it's summer, it's hot out. We want to hydrate. And I should have also added to be sure to check out your local farmers markets, or even take a quick trip up to ABMA's, especially during the summer. So that brings us to any questions that you guys have. I hope that I've gone through and set out what I meant to do, which was talk about healthy summer eating and how we could put it all together.
Okay, thank you so much, Nicole. That was wonderful. Made me hungry for good things. Oh, that's wonderful. So I hope you have some good ideas, some you know, I always think that getting to those fresh markets really is inspiring. You know, it makes you want to eat in that certain way. So just to peruse them are so nice. We have a lot of those farm markets this summer. So great.
And a lot of them don't just have fruits and vegetables. You can
I
do,
know that. Yeah,
cheeses and
it's my favorite part. Okay, well, I'm going to wrap this up now. I thank you all so much for joining us today. And again, thank you so much, Nicole. It was very comprehensive, so interesting. At this time, I'd like to remind everyone at home to take a few. Oh, I do have a question. Okay, hold on. Oh, someone has a question. The difference between pearl barley and hulless barley. Did I say that right? Hulless barley? Is there a difference, Nicole?
To be honest with you, I don't know I
Pearl
don't know.
barley is just like pearl, and hulless is Hulless, Hulless barley.
I've never heard of that barley, so that's a new one for me. I don't know. I would have to look that one up.
Okay, all
I'm
right.
sorry.
It's okay. All right, again, at this time, I'd like to thank everyone for coming, and somebody just mentioned